And hello, everyone, in the 151st episode of umbraCoffee live. And we are joined today by Ingrid, straight from Netherlands. Hi, Ingrid, how are you?
Hi, I'm doing well. Thanks you to invited me to join you guys.
It's great to have you.
Brought my coffee.
We'll send you an umbraCoffee mug, a proper umbraCoffee mug, so you can have your coffee.
Cool.
I've got one here. There we go. We'll send you one.
Nice.
So you can have your coffee in one of those going forward. Famous mugs. But yeah, it's great to have you. We met at the Dutch festival.
Yeah, we went
and Ingrid is proudly representing the Dutch festival by wearing a t-shirt from there.
I went through.
Oh yeah,
actually the Bugfest 2020 t-shirt.
Yes.
Legacy.
Yeah, I have
I'm representing Space Jam today. But yeah, it's good to have you because, of course, we will be talking about this news. But you were highlighted as a U profile this month by Umbraco HQ. What is your involvement in the work and how you are related to Umbraco in general? Maybe as an introduction to the further topics.
Yes. Well, I work at an Amsterdam-based agency called Basic Orange. We only develop websites in Umbraco. So that's how I got to know Umbraco. I've worked with multiple agencies and also on client side with different CMSs, for example, Drupal website. But with this company, I got in touch with Umbraco actually. And it's been really interesting since. It's a really friendly community, getting to know you guys all. And it's a really nice CMS for the websites to build as well for the developers as for the content editors. And at the company, I work as a lead UX, where I help clients to discover who are my target groups and what is their customer journey. And how are you relating that to the website? So how can you improve your website by knowing that? And I work we have our own personalization package called uPersonal. So I'm working on that as well. So it's a really dynamic job, actually. I'm really happy to discover all these various fields.
Very nice. So yeah, you've got a really varied job in terms of the UX side of things, kind of more traditional UX, working in the context of Umbraco, but also the UX and kind of purpose of the uPersonal product, isn't that?
Yeah, okay. Definitely.
Yeah. So and that's until Dukefest, I'd not really spoken to anyone about uPersonal. I'd seen it around, never used it. I went and had a look afterwards, and it looks really, really cool. It's been around a long time too. Like in terms of personalization tools, we talk about some of the great new things that have come out, but uPersonal's been around a while as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Since which version it was supported?
Originally, it was called Spin Doctor. So we rebranded it, but it's still the same project, but we built upon it. So we improved it, actually.
Yeah. I would love to see more comparisons of those engines, to be honest. And I think that there will be more of them sooner than later, because as you said, that was a crazy year. And at the beginning of the year, we also heard a lot about even Dutch companies who were building the personalization engines at the same time. And right now they're popping out, and we can all try them and use them and just decide of using the one which fetches our expectations. That's awesome. So you are following what is happening in Umbraco ecosystem all the time, and hopefully you are also involved in contributing back to Umbraco and maybe helping in this area where what interests you the most, which is the UX experience, right?
Yeah, I hope so.
Awesome. So shall we jump to the upgrades from Umbraco side, because there is a lot of things being released this week, and we can start from the product updates shared by Rune this week on Monday, highlighting 5 new and 5 upcoming releases with some upgrades to also products like Deploy on-premise and Hacktoberfest stats. But we can probably start from the newest release, which was 8.9. which was also followed by 8.91 with a patch fix for some issues discovered straight after the release. And there were some new releases for things like GraphQL for Umbraco Heartcore, which we mentioned a while ago. Patches for Umbraco packages, and as well there was an Umbraco Forms 8.4, and there's Umbraco Forms 8.5 released 2 or 3 days ago, fixing
8.855. Yeah.
Yes, 8.5. Yes, fixing some of the issues as well spotted with the validation in Umbraco Forms, and Courier as well. But what is exciting again is like a pretty clear roadmap and what is up front. So we will have more patches and more releases for all of the products.
It's great to see. I mean, we've spoken about this before, and we're going to speak about it a little bit later as well. But we've got an 8.8.2, even though we've got 8.9 and 8.9.1, we're getting still patches on 8.2 and on 8 and even 8.7 and 8.6. There's loads. So it seems like there's kind of an active effort to support these packages in historically, these versions historically.
Yeah, and of course, Callum, as you've correctly speculated, there will be 8.10.
December 3rd, release candidate, and then the general release on the 17th. It's annoying because this is probably the last one I can speculate about. I've enjoyed the past few months speculating when certain releases are going to be happening with maybe a few inside sources, and it's been great fun. But as we'll talk about, that's coming to an end.
It's interesting, Callum, because it's December 17th, and that's the date which I mentioned. My second daughter is getting born on this date, so
cool.
I will be definitely following these updates straight from the hospital.
You need to call your new daughter Umbraco 8.
It's my release 2.0, so it's I'm following the Semver. But yeah, there will be new updates, new things, and there are updates for the roadmap and products like deploy on premise. It was heavily tested by some of the partners and some of the community members. So I assume that there were some testing and fixes being done in between, and the upgrades will be released there. And Hacktoberfest statistics again, numbers and stats. I can't remember the numbers from last year, but this year in all the repositories it was more valuable. I would say it wasn't like crazy like last year's when every change to the README file was accepted as a Hacktoberfest pull request.
I think there was definitely this year a drive for quality. I agree with you there. Like there was kind of features and nice fixes. Last year, I've just checked, 849 incoming pull requests in October last year. So that was, that's a decent chunk and a decent chunk higher. But this year you've got a better spread too, and contributions to packages, which is truly great.
Yeah. And Ingrid, as we have you here, how was your transition from previous Umbraco to version 8, and how you are finding yourself and your products and your work with the recent Umbraco upgrades?
Yeah, I think it's a really good upgrade. It was a bit of getting to know it, because in Umbraco 7 you have these tabs, and now you have a long list with everything on one page. I feel that's getting too used to that. But I feel the look and feel of Umbraco 8 is a bit more modern as well as Umbraco 7. So it's user-friendly, but sometimes I miss the tabs as well for some parts of content, because you have to scroll a long time.
Don't start this fight.
As a UX expert, what's your opinion on the tab situation? But you've answered. Yeah, I think I agree. There's some places where you've got one or two groups with a few properties, and it's like, okay, this is nice, I can see everything. And when you've got complex properties like even the grid, which create a lot of long pages, then it does become very long.
Yeah, and we build our websites until now in the grid, so it's quite a scroll down to get to the SEO part, for example. Yeah, indeed. I mean, I think a lot of the community have reached the same conclusion. So.
the most discussed thread on our
the biggest thread ever.
But yeah, that's great to hear, because we were talking about those releases week after week, that they are more organized, they're more steady. And today, Philip from Umbraco HQ released a blog post exactly describing the whole policy and an idea of making releases more organized and also more predictable for everyone who is following them or planning them.
Yeah, I think it's a good choice of them.
No more speculations, Callum. or we can try to speculate. Maybe not everyone will be following the cycles.
There's a disclaimer at the bottom of this that says, sometimes these dates are going to vary a little bit. So I'm going to start speculating which ones are going to be late or not. I won't.
And you can speculate after April 22nd, so because there are still and so on. So
yeah, I think so. So what this is really going forward, and I think we've discussed this on an episode relatively recently, is that we're going to be seeing a release every 6 weeks, because Umbraco works in release cycles, 2 sprints, 2 3-week sprints make up a cycle, and we'll be seeing a release at the end of every single cycle in HQ. So we will get a release candidate 2 weeks before a release, as we have been for recently, and yeah, that's just gonna continue. So we'll get how my maths is failing me. We're going to get like releases each year, and they'll be smaller and more digestible, I think.
And I really like this approach, because I recently turned into more planned cycles for the projects as well. So, for example, updates of the Umbraco and packages related once per month. And it will be extremely easy right now to even decide on the date or the day when it can be performed, because we will already assume that the release will be there to use it for the new deployment, for example.
If we think about the recent releases, of course, we're now 4 or 5 months into having 8.6, 8.7, 8.8. But those we noted at the time, very few patch releases coming out for those releases. It was very much, we're going to move quickly on to the next release with features, patch when we can. And if with that increased cadence and increased stability, there is a lot more trust in the upgrades, I think. Whenever I've worked on Umbraco upgrades in the past, especially the V7, they were sometimes kind of big bang. This is going to break a lot of things, or we're going to have to retest the whole site. Whereas I think Joe Glombeck yesterday said, I upgraded from 8.6 to 8.9 and nothing changed. And that's, I think, kind of what we want, isn't it? Just nice, easy. You don't notice anything, but the product's just a little bit better.
Yeah, and same with the load balance solutions, for example. When you are updating to the recent upgrades, you see improvements whenever, even if they are not seen straight from the UI or something. And that's amazing, and that's bringing trust into the upgrades and maybe bringing us towards the automated upgrades which are done also on some cloud solutions, for example.
It's good that they have these set dates now that you can prepare for them as well. I actually had a talk about it for our package uPersonal in the office this week, where we are going to decide, okay, we want to release on more regular schedule. So it's good to see the day as well, so that we can see
helps
how
you predict the future. And equally, I know Kevin Jump has been fantastic at, he releases his new version of a package updated for the next version of the CMS on the same day, or like that's a big effort that he makes. Of course, I think that's maybe not would be unfair to expect everyone to do that, but at least having an idea of we want to aim for around this sort of time to have a new version, or we know when we can start depending on those new features in the CMS. It's handy, definitely.
But speaking about it, it's exactly for what it can be used. So you not always have people or time to do those tests or to even install and test the solution. And right now, if you will know that, we will have a new release next Tuesday, let's arrange half a day for Tuesday to do some tests, for example, against our package. It will be really good to see it in action, and maybe it will be definitely more organized in the whole ecosystem. And Ingrid, we've talked about the U profile, and congrats on being highlighted with the U profile in November. We've mentioned most of your activities already, but everyone who wants to learn more about you and your involvement with Umbraco can find it really well described in this blog post. And I've seen that you've reborn your Twitter profile today as well.
Yes,
in this blog post there's a LinkedIn link, but right now you can probably also turn people to follow you and find you on Twitter again.
I'll ask them to add my Twitter link as well, because as you can see, I haven't tweeted in like 5 years, maybe longer. It's been a really long time. But yeah, you guys are all on Twitter, so I was thinking like, well, this is a good solution to go back to Twitter, because I'm missing out on a lot of fun, I thought.
Yeah, I have a lot of other stuff as well on Twitter. But
there are two sides of Twitter and social media. That's the truth. I recently used a pretty neat package in addition to Chrome, which is making me sure that I'm not using Twitter too much during my work time. And before umbraCoffee, I needed to turn it off because all of the tabs where I had Twitter open were saying not polite messages to go back to work for me. I will share it separately for you if you want to increase your productivity at work.
Brilliant.
Yeah,
but there is one more topic which we can probably discuss in more depth with you, Ingrid, as well. Is a kind of new approach for Umbraco community website, which is also something new being released today. There is a blog post highlighting what is the plan, what are the steps to make it happen, but there is also a new subdomain called community.umbraco.com. And it's a new hub for Umbraco community, of course, but people who are following Umbraco Cloud and Baselines can easily detect that this is the umbraco.com subsite. And even in the blog post, it stated that it's using the baseline feature on Umbraco Cloud to make it work for the community. And yeah, we were talking about it a lot. That community is not only it's not only forum, it's not only for developers. And right now we have this new section. What are your thoughts about this?
Yeah, I think it's really great. I think it's connecting all the different parts together, because there are a lot of, as you say, the forum and the Umbraco, and now they found a way to connect it all.
Yeah, I mean, I think so. The as is addressed in the blog post, "our" and the noun "our" has become synonymous in the Umbraco community, in the existing Umbraco community. But for people looking in from the outside, that it's not an easy thing you don't just find "our" Umbraco necessarily. It's most community sites for most open source and software communities, they have a community.something website. So definitely makes it more predictable. I know for a fact that when I'm looking for like a forum or something, I instantly try forum and community of their website just to see. So this definitely will help. I think the whole thing was trying to centralize all of the nice community information and separate it from the forum, because the forum is typically very developer focused and can be quite daunting. And the package section as well is probably not quite what you want. Whereas this is, it's more information. It's more, I don't know, it's interesting.
Yeah, and I like your article as well, where you are discussing also Umbraco calls it packages, while a lot of other CMSs call it plugins. So yeah, that's also a really interesting.
Exactly, and I mean, that's the Scrift article you're referring to. They have apps as well, so they have Umbraco apps, and we have packages, whereas other people call them plugins, extensions. So this is a good step towards making the community a bit more accessible and approachable. And I'll do some more speculation. I would love to see the forum itself spun off as a separate thing, and the packages repository or the apps or whatever we want to call them spun off as a separate site. So
Marketplace.
Marketplace. Yeah. I'll just put my suit and tie on, Marketplace. yeah, like I can totally understand why, if maybe as a non-dev you went to our, you'd be really daunted, really scared. But this site does seem to get across the kind of friendly vibe a little bit better.
Mm-hmm.
So
I really like the structure, and again, it's easy to find the information right now. It's not like if you will land here, you probably will find what you were looking for, and if not, you are going to forum where the forum is, and more information like there, and yeah. So yeah, for good, there is a content migration and content upgrade happening right now, and it will be all improving. And our is still open source. That's also a message which was shared in this blog post, so everyone can still contribute for the sections besides those new sections.
To be very fair, this is not removing anything open source from our. These were all content managed pages anyway that the community didn't have access to. So it is great to have them all centralized. I was going to ask Ingrid. So as someone with a UX background, and you said you were introduced to Umbraco via your job, how did you find kind of exploring the community, getting to know what's going on, even how ways that you could get involved? How did you find that?
Actually, through Arnold. When we met with Arnold at our office, and he was
driven development.
Yeah, definitely. He was saying, oh, you should go to this meetup. I actually started with a meetup, I guess, just at meetup.com, and by our developers who are using, of course, our Umbraco. So if you need something about the package, they told me to go to our Umbraco. And that's actually how I found my information, and Dugfest, of course. Actually, it's quite a fun story. One of my colleagues in 2019 couldn't attend Dugfest because he was too busy. So I said, hey, I would like to join, because I thought it was really interesting, because I was a UXer who didn't work with Umbraco before. And I thought, if I go to Dugfest, at least I learn more about Umbraco and get to know more about the CMS and learn to meet new people.
And you still feel as a UXer, even though the community's maybe developer heavy, you still feel like you fit in, and there's a place for you to give back.
Yeah, definitely. I hope that I'm be able to get more UXers or more non-developers into the community. So that would be really great. But I feel all the developers are really friendly. So
yeah, I would love to see more non-devs in the community, especially as there is so much that everyone can contribute here. UX expertise can be given to drive the direction of the back office, or maybe give reviews to people's packages and how you can improve that there. You don't have to be a dev to actually contribute. Raising an issue and saying, I don't think this experience is friendly enough, and here's why, is a fantastic way to contribute. And we absolutely should do more to include people like yourself.
Yeah, and do more, because often the UX is always on the front end of the website, which is also my job, so which is really good. But you shouldn't forget about the back office and about that approach, because I had actually a few months ago, I think, a talk with a client of mine who said, if I can't get my content editors to easily add content into the website, then it's a missed project, because then there's no content and we can't use it on the front end for the users. So we are in that project, we actually really developed a really great workflow with the content editors to have it user-friendly for them as well. And I think often, because Umbraco is friendly by itself, it can be overlooked sometimes.
Yeah, I can totally see why you'd say that. But
here, Callum, here one more thing about this, because I think that it's very important to have an exposure on open source spirit here. And if companies like yours are working with, for example, Umbraco as a system, and they know that they can, I don't know, have a voice and have an impact on how it will behave, that's probably opening minds for every kind of profession that we can contribute, we can help in making that changed. And in a lot of places, in a lot of software distributions, there is a case that, it's working like it's working, we are not able to change it, let's adapt or use something else. When in this case, we really can have a voice and can have an impact, which is making us more creative, I would say,
I was just going to add, I would love to see that this community site evolves to represent everything we've just discussed. The fact that those values of, even if you are not a developer, you can change the direction of the product. It's a collaborative thing. I think that would be great to properly communicate that on the site. See some UX or designer focused content, project manager focused content, sales. Anyone that's involved with Umbraco is ultimately part of the community.
Yeah, and I think Umbraco is really, that's also an USP of the community. I think it's really open for that as well. You don't see that in a lot of other CMSs. It's always just the developers. And I think Umbraco is also open to other members of the community. So that's my experience, at least.
Yeah. Let's aim for that. And as maybe at some point we'll replace this human information exchange, which is more than 90% right now, and we rely on that, into some places where we can really find the help and support, and new people can find it out as well without knowing other people, because that's probably what can help us grow for the bigger and better community.
Well, actually, we are going to write an article for the 24 days in Umbraco, and which won't be developer-minded, but it will be open for everyone. But we really want to highlight also the other parts of the community. So it will be for developers written as well, but we won't highlight like, okay, you need this code to get it working or something. So we're going to tell our story, what we learned and what we aim for in the future. So
lovely. We can look forward to that in... Well,
we don't know when, but we will definitely read this and highlight that.
Awesome.
Cool. We also had a couple other releases this week. Besides, of course, mentioned Umbraco releases and Umbraco packages releases. There was an announced vendor release candidate 1.4, and
breaking changes.
Yeah, some breaking changes, some new things and adjustments for pricing, discounts, and various other things. And we've been discussing it before going live here, that the e-commerce is getting more and more interest in recent days due to the movings of businesses into the online areas. And I think that packages like vendor and all the solutions which are helping to sell goods and services online will be really needed more and more. So that's good to have the updates, and big kudos for the whole team and Matt for releasing candidate earlier. And if I'm correct, that was 2 weeks ahead of the proper scheduled date.
I think there's 2 weeks to provide feedback, and then there'll be a release. It's primarily because if anyone is using discounts heavily currently, or more specifically gift vouchers, there's a bunch of changes that you have to make. And so Matt wants people to test it out, make sure that it's all kind of doing what they think it's going to do. Ultimately, this feature provides much better visibility over every single change that's happening, like every calculation that's happening. And there's Matt sent me this to review before it was published. There's an incredible amount of detail in here about things that that have changed, that if you're using this, you want to do it. So hopefully this can act as like a really nice guide to help anyone migrating and testing and giving some feedback.
Yeah, I love this summary of what has changed, what's breaking has changed, and how it affects your implementation. Good work. And there was also an update for Plumber for version V8 from Nathan, with some fixes, and there is 1.4.3 which was probably turned off previously.
It's on NuGet 143, but is it not on the GitHub?
Not tagged on GitHub, but there are some new Plumber releases. And I must admit here that I was referring to a lot of the Angular code on Nathan's repositories recently, and I found it very, very useful. And I'm pretty handy in copying and pasting stuff recently as well. Yeah, really, really good work here. And last but not least, there was an insight from Shannon and his XaminX project, and some new explorations of Algolia search and provider for XaminX, which is for some who don't know it, probably it's hard to say the most powerful, but really well established and widely used search engine, and it's even used in the vendor documentation. If I'm correct,
the vendor docs app is the search is Algolia. It's search as a service, very good, very cheap, easy to set up. Be cool to see this in ExaminX.
Oh, and one more newsletter studio from Marcus.
Yep.
New upgrade. Yeah, I still missed to test it. I used it in version 6 probably last time.
It's not for V8 yet. This is still for V7.
Okay.
There's a comment there. Yeah, maybe at the end of 2020, but
that would be good. That would be good. But it's still interesting because there is a lot of packages and solutions which are serving the same feature functionalities outside of the web. But I was enjoying using this newsletter studio in V6 in the past, and that's from the updates. And there is a lot of events happening ahead of us. But we can start from one update, and it's an update from Umbraco HQ about Code Garden 2021, which is going to happen in the online world.
Interesting.
But yeah, so that's the decision, probably wise decision, because it's hard to think about gatherings. As Kim probably stated here, it's not possible to gather 750 people from 40 different countries. And thinking right now about it, it's like 10. It's this
abstraction. This truly breaks my heart, but ultimately, I think we all knew this was going to happen. Rightfully, you can't gather 750 people, and it would be kind of quite dangerous to do so, especially as even if one part of the world is okay at that point, another part might not be, and it's not fair to not have all the community in one place. I was joking with Lottie and Ravi yesterday that we would book out Mikula Bar in London and have a private viewing party. We should do a global streaming event. Like Microsoft did it with some of their conferences, that in all Microsoft offices there was a audience and live streams for the events. So whatever will be possible then to gather as many people as possible locally for watching this and participating, even like this kind of way. It will be good, but it's good to know it now, because again, it will be probably challenging that some of the people will have plans, some of them won't have ability to go, as you've said, Callum. Right now, Umbraco is focused on making this event the most engaging and the best online possible event which they can do, and everyone is invited to help and participate. And I saw some Twitter threads as well about some of ideas of making this event even better. Ingrid and I obviously experienced firsthand.
Yes, exactly.
Studio, so I'm sure there's some insight to be taken from that.
Yeah, I think they already did a good job at DUG 2020. I found it was really nice organized, and the advantage that I see is that more people can even join easily, because we saw a lot of live streams. It was I think it was available for more people to join, even if they can't. They just put it on their screen and they start working and they start listening.
There was the video of Sebastian cycling through Copenhagen with his phone actually with the stream on. Like, you can watch from anywhere.
Yeah, and I like the hybrid solution, like a few people in the studio, a few people on screen. It gives a new dynamic. I think maybe I feel it's sad to not be all together and have a big party and have like a great event, but on the other hand, it might even open some new doors. So.
A lot of the reasoning for the hybrid setup with DUGFest was because to capture a lot of the atmosphere that comes from one of those events, you do need people in the same room. You need some kind of interaction. And we, like right now, we're having a chat and it lasts 30 minutes, 40 minutes, but we couldn't do this for a whole day. It would be very, very boring to watch, and I wouldn't want anyone to watch that. So I wonder if Code Garden will do something similar with a kind of hybridish setup, because the Code Garden energy and the in-person energy is its selling point, really. That's ultimately why people go to it. So it will be very interesting to see how they try and capture that and keep that going in an online format.
Yeah. Definitely. We'll see. We'll definitely see that. Right now, we are seeing how meetups are doing that, and Callum, you've been participating in some of them. Yesterday, there was a London online chat, right? On open space chat.
We had our London meetup, our open space, where we discussed all of the versioning and release announcements that Umbraco unveiled today, as well as analytics and how you use that to make your website better, whether it's to drive development decisions or if it's for personalization. And we had a really nice mixed group, people who were developers, people who were technical managers, people who had kind of had historic experience working in big corporations or public sector. And so there was a lot of really interesting and differing opinions. It was great it was a really good meetup.
Good. And there are two events next week. There's an Edinburgh meetup, virtual meetup, of course, on November 17th. Tuesday, sorry. With you, Carole and Poornima, talking both about vendor and some of the experiences with this package. And there is a Norway virtual meetup on November 19th, also with Matt Brace for talking about vendor APIs, you, Callum, talking about making search friendly.
This episode of umbraCoffee is sponsored by Vendor.
Is still this drinking game happening? Oh, the vendor team is awesome. Yeah. And there are two more in December. umbraCoffee on November 26th.
We did it, Martin.
And the virtual meetup in Glasgow, yes, which is aligned for December 8th.
There's two more, in fact. There's apparently a Stuttgart meetup. There's an Australian meetup. Actually, there's another one as well. There's a few other meetups that there's probably too many to mention.
We will be bringing them to attention more close to the deadlines. but
a meetup actually next week with Suterman.
I think that's the next thing on our list, isn't it?
Yes, that's something what I need your help in translating, probably. Because it looks like a meetup or webinar.
It's a webinar. It's about SEO checker for Umbraco. Well, on one side, we have Suterman, who will demonstrate SEO checker for Umbraco 8 and gives us all the new insights. And on the other end, my colleague Wessel will tell you, okay, if you have the tool, how can you make the most of it? Because ranking high in Google is one thing, but then you also need to think, okay, I rank high now, but how do I persuade people to click on my link? And we'll get like those two sides, so one technical and one strategical, in one workshop, in one webinar, actually.
Wow! Nice. So is this a new thing, or is this starting next week as
serious or
series?
This is next week, but we've been given webinars for a while now. Actually, since the first lockdown, since March.
Nice. Very cool, very cool. This is the first time I've seen it. Obviously, it's in Dutch, so I will be unable to understand. But it's fantastic to see this happening.
Next time, we'll see if we can do one in English. Actually, very English still.
Cool. That's a great initiative, and of course, that's great to see that topics like SEO are rise like that, and that these are very, very important. That's good to see them happening. And on our list, we have a couple more links which are referring to the new episode of the Candid Contributions podcast, which is season 2, episode 4, titled Pivot, released 6 days ago. I haven't had a chance to listen to it yet, but it also refers to the .NET Conf, which was happening this week. And speaking about .NET Conf, .NET 5, .NET 5.0, a big announcement, big release. Callum, you've mentioned the DLLs landing early on the new get.
Well, it was all of the surrounding dependencies, like things that Umbraco also depends on, were bumped up to v5.0 of something, so they landed about 12 hours early. Of course, this is all really cool because It's stuff that we will get our hands on within the next 12 months in the Umbraco world. Finally, there's awesome things like record types in C#9. You can basically do like top level. You can write programs at the very top level now. You don't need a namespace or a class declaration. It's very cool. The keynote, which we'll link below, actually, is really worth a watch if you've got an hour.
Yeah, and I was preparing presentations about new releases of C#9, but it's not possible to do it up to date. It's so dynamic recently that it's great to see that. And for everyone who is writing C# code and relying on .NET, this release is amazing. And there are some performance stats and things like improvements in general in the ecosystem, which are probably linked somewhere here.
So you mentioned about improvements to the ecosystem, of course. Blazor is a huge part of the .NET stack now. Kudos to Carole and Poornima as well, who also spoke at .NET Conf yesterday, and their talks aren't quite online yet. I tried to get a link. You could go back yesterday and view the stream, but you can't anymore. They'll be uploaded within a day or so. We'll make sure that they're linked when they are as well. But yeah, a big like this .NET change affects so many things. We're talking .NET Framework, C#, F#, Blazor, Xamarin, or what will be Maui going forward. Like there's a whole bunch of awesome stuff that these changes kind of underpin, and we'll get them in Umbraco at some point too. Big change.
Big changes. And last but not least is another YouTube video which was released this week, coming from Pulse Hill, and it's part 1 of the series about searching in Umbraco V8. So as usual, Paul is sharing his experiences with various areas of the Umbraco implementations, and in this series it will be about search, and I'm really curious about the things mentioned here. I need to add it to my watch list, and we highly encourage everyone to follow that if you want to write search experiences with Umbraco V8. And that's all from our list. Looks like, again, as a great week in around of Umbraco community. I still need to recap some of the .NET Conf videos as I was not able to watch them online, and there were some performance issues with the streams there. That's interesting. I
didn't notice that.
Yeah, that was interesting. That whenever they were talking about performance as well, so that's funny. But yeah, it was a very occupied event, and everyone was just interested about it. So we need to recap. So yeah, Ingrid, thank you very much for joining us today. Is there anything else what you want to share? Any call to action at the end of the repository at the end of the episode?
Well, follow our uPersonal package. We are going to release some new, really nice features in the upcoming future. So getting to personalization to the next level for your Umbraco website, because I really believe that's the future, actually. Besides, I would even believe that if we didn't build it, because I see it in a lot of different CMSs, in a lot of different websites. It's not this, it's getting more interactive. It's more of a dialogue. Websites aren't just for reading or aren't just distance. It's getting more personal and more into the dialogue with your user. And don't forget about the content editor. So also improve on the UX of the back office in your company if you build Umbraco websites or any CMS actually. So
very wise. Very good. There was one thing that we did forget to mention, and that is that it's a very special week next week. We have our 3rd birthday.
Oh, congrats!
We'll hit 3, which is we've come a long way in 3 years. But we want to do something cool, a bit of fun next week. So we want to invite as many people as possible onto this stream. Just kind of come and go throughout the day. So this is your official invite to our 3rd birthday party.
Nice. I'll be there. I'll put it in my phone.
We'll need to put people in the queue here in the tool, but we want to invite all of you here and obviously celebrate a little with everyone who is watching it. So if you are still watching this episode, feel invited to join us next week. We'll probably share more details during the week.
Yeah.
And as usual, thank you very much for staying with us. Have a great rest of the day and the weekend ahead. Like, subscribe, share across your companies, colleagues, friends, and Sidecore users, and see you next Friday. And thanks, Ingrid, again for joining us.